Hey everybody, this is Kelly of Rojo Chief Clothing, and as you see right here, this is my Instagram, and I'm going to click on my link tree. That's going to send you to all of my links: Anchor.fm, the YouTube channel that you already know about, my online clothing store, and my Facebook page, so you can follow me. Alright, so Anchor.fm, that's my podcast. So stories or news that I'm not going to post on YouTube, you can find them on my podcast, and you can listen to them on Spotify and also on Breaker and other, podcasts. Okay. Then, as you may or may not know, this is my online clothing store where you can find fashions on here for men, women, kids, and babies. So, let's get ready for the show. This is a picture of Charles II of England. It said he ruled between May 29th, 1630 and February 6, 1685. He was the King of Scotland from 1649 until 1651 and King of England, Scotland, and Ireland from the 1660 restoration of the monarchy until his death, 1685. Now, the reason why this is important is because he was the one who had made laws in the colony of Virginia concerning slavery and who was going to be enslaved and why. Okay, it says the General Assembly begun at James City, November the 10th, 1682, the 34th year of reign of the sovereign Lord King Charles II. By the grace of God of England, Scotland, France, Ireland, etc. It says the act to repeal a former law making Indians and others free. So they wanted to we wanted to repeal the law that was making Indians and other people free. It says, whereas by the 12th Act of Assembly held at James City, the 3rd day of October, Anno Domini 1670, entitled an act declaring who shall be slaves, it is enacted that all servants not being Christian, being imported into this country by shipping, shall be slaves, but that shall come by land shall serve, if boys and girls until 30 years of age, if men or women 12 years and no longer, and for as much as many Negroes, Moors, mulattoes, and other born of and in heathenish, idolatrous, pagan, and Mohammedan parentage and country have herefore and hereafter may be purchased, procured, or otherwise obligated as slaves from or out of such their heathenish country by some well dispossessed Christian, who after such, neither obtaining or purchasing such Negro, Moor, or mulatto as their slave, out of a pious zeal, have wrought the conversion of such slave to a Christian faith. So basically what it sounds like is that any person that was not known for being a Christian and they was not baptized as a Christian, he considered them as an enemy, because prior to him being born, there was a religious war going on between the Holy Roman Catholic Church and the Muslims, which was the Turks and the Moors of the Ottoman Empire. Okay, now this is part of what King Charles had said, and it said also to be enacted by the authority aforesaid. It is hereby enacted that all servants imported and brought into this country by sea or land, it says, who were not Christians in their native country, except Turks and Moors in amity with Her Majesty, and others that can make proof, do proof their being free in England or any other Christian country before they were shipped in order to transportation hither shall be accounted to be a slave. So if they didn't have an agreement with England, with the king, then they were considered as slaves, Turks and Moors. Okay, so this is in the state of South Carolina. And in the state of South Carolina, it was the year 1790 on the 27th day of November. It says, in the House of Representatives, January 20th, 1790, the House proposed to ratify such acts and ordinances as are engrossed, and the great seal of the state affixed thereto at 1 o'clock this day, then to adjourn to Saturday, the 27th day of November next, which this House requests your Honor's concurrence. A petition was presented to the House from sundry free Moors, subjects of the Emperor of Morocco, and residents in this state, praying that in case they should commit any fault amendable to be brought to justice, that they as subjects to a prince in alliance with the United States of America may be tried underneath the same laws as citizens of this state will be liable to be tried, and not under the Negro Act, which was received and read. It says, Clorinda humbly showeth that your petitioners some years past had the misfortune, while fighting in the defense of their country, to be captured with their wives and made prisoners of war by one of the kings of Africa, that a certain Captain Clark had them delivered to him on a promise that they should be redeemed by the Emperor of Morocco's ambassador, then residing in England, in order to have them returned to their own country, instead of which he brought them to the state and sold them to be as slaves. Since that period, they have by the greatest industry been enabled to purchase their freedom from their prospective masters, and now pray of your honorable House that as a freeborn subject of the prince now in alliance with the United States, that they may not be considered as subjects to a law of this state now in force called the Negro Law. Okay, because what they were saying was that these people, they were free people. They were free Africans. They were Moors underneath the Prince of Morocco. And the Prince of Morocco, he had a treaty with the United States. And I believe that treaty was the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So they were saying that they didn't want the Moors to be enslaved and to be considered as Negroes, even though they were considered as Africans or black people. They didn't want to be considered as Negroes because Negroes were slaves, and the people that were slaves in the United States were of either American Indian heritage or African Negro heritage. So to my understanding that King Charles, he had a beef with the Moors because the Moors and the Turks, the Ottoman Empire, they had a commercial agreement to do trade with each other. They were doing business with each other across the seas. And the Moors, from what it sounded like, they were helping the Spanish to have Indians and Africans as slaves. But then at some point, the Moors were created as slaves or made slaves by King Charles II because he felt like they were infidels, because some Moors or North Africans had helped some American Indians become free that was out on the island of Hispaniola. So I think because of that, he looked at the Moors as being traitors, and therefore he didn't want the Mohammedan people or the Muslim people to be in the colony anymore. He automatically wanted them to be slaves, and anybody that was considered non-Christian was considered as a pagan. So therefore, American Indians were considered as enemies of England because they were not baptized Christians. And it was considered as infidels because of that as well. So tell me, what do you think about all of this information? Did you know that England, that they had amity or a friendship with the Moors, and then the Moors had betrayed them? And then the Moors then tried to say that, hey, we have a treaty. We are subjects of the Prince of Morocco, so therefore we should be considered as free people and not be in the same category as Negroes, which Negroes were American Indians that were slaves, and also African people that were called Negroes later on that happened to be slaves or made slaves. Okay, tell me, what do you think about that? Did you know that? Please give me a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks, and I'm out.